Hello everybody, and welcome to a new chapter of this podcast Barcelona Guide, a podcast created to teach you interesting things about Barcelona. I am José Gómez, the founder of Looking Barcelona, a company where I provide tours to discover this amazing city. And today, I would like to talk to you about Casa Vicens, one house that Gaudi, the great architect, designed when he was 30 years of age. As you probably know, casa in Spanish is house, and Vicens is the man who commissioned the house to Gaudi. Of course, a wealthy man. It was the first house that Gaudi designed, and yes, before he had already collaborated on numerous projects, being part of the team of other architects. But this was his first major commission. The construction began in 1882 and lasted until 1885 for 3 years. This year, 1882, was very important to Gaudi. Also, in that year, he started working in La Sagrada Familia, that will be his big project. Actually, he worked in La Sagrada Familia all his professional life for 44 years, and of course, he combined the work in La Sagrada Familia with other works. He used to work in 4 or 5 different houses at the same time. Casa Vicens, it was commissioned by Mr. Vicens, a famous stockbroker. Mr. Vicens wanted to build a house just to spend the summer holidays. The house is located in the Barcelona neighborhood of Gracia. Gracia is a very charming place. I recommend you, if you visit the city, take a walk this area. When I travel, I love getting lost in the streets and just to contemplate the atmosphere of the place. Gracia is the perfect place for that. You can look for Verdi Street, like the famous museum. It is one of the main streets, and from there, let yourself go. Take a look at the artist workshops that you will come across, visit the small bars, or sit down in one of the benches of the small squares you will find, and just feel the life of this district. In Gracia, there are 20 small squares, all of them with their own personality. In fact, the district of Gracia was an independent village. It was joined to the city in 1897 and still preserves that small village atmosphere. People know each other, young people gather on the numerous terraces to chat loud, children play in the squares, while older people stroll. Life runs as a quiet pace in Gracia neighborhood. We can come back to Casa Vicens. Mr. Vicens was a rich exchange stockbroker. Commissioned the house to Gaudi. The construction just take 2 years. It was the first house of Gaudi, and he wanted to strive, to do his best. Gaudi used a style that was fashionable in Europe in the 19th century, and the name of this style was exoticism, an exotic style with a romantic and exotic inspiration, and a style inspired in the decorations that we can find in the palaces of Japan, in India, in China. At that time in Europe, rich people loved that kind of decoration. Actually, in Barcelona, there are many houses in that style. All these houses were built in the 19th century. Originally, the house was very different than the house we can admire today. Today, there is a patio around the house of around 50 square yards. But in the house that Gaudi designed, there was a big garden that measured 1,800 square yards with a small church that looked like a Roman temple. Gaudi designed also a big waterfall. This area is rich in groundwater that Gaudi took after to provide the waterfall and also the house. And why the garden that we can see today is smaller than the original one? Mr. Vicens' descendants were selling parts of the garden, thus the waterfall and the small church disappeared. The house today is surrounded by buildings that were built where the splendid garden was. Today the house is wonderful, but years ago it was more impressive. Now I'm going to talk you about the decoration we can find in the house, and I will describe the house to you. The exterior walls of the house are made of stone and decorated by tiles. On the highest part, on the roof, there are two towers that look like Arab minarets. Minarets, as you probably know, are these towers that we can find in mosques. Mosques are the Muslims' temples. The tiles are decorated by some delicate, small, round and yellow flowers. When Gaudi came here for the first time, he saw many of these small flowers. We can contemplate on these tiles, these flowers, and everywhere. And years after, Gaudi said that he felt as all these flowers were welcoming him. He thought that it was a sign of good luck, and he decided to reproduce all these flowers everywhere, so we can admire reproductions of these flowers inside the house as well. The name in Catalan, the local language of this flower, is Flor de Moro. In Latin is Tagetes patula, and in English, marigolds. They are small and yellow wild flowers. Also, the first time that he came here, he saw many palm trees, and many palm trees that he depicted there everywhere as well. Gaudi was always inspired by nature. And now, if you are ready, we can explore the inside of the house. So, ladies and gentlemen, follow me, please. The first room we find is the hall. This area was very important for Gaudi to connect the interior and the exterior. Also, the hall gives welcome us. Here, the decorations are an element of continuity with the garden. That I mean with that is that we find the paintings inside the house of some of these plants and flowers that grew up in the garden. It is as if nature wanted to enter the house. Some years ago, it was a big work of restoration here because humidity has deteriorated the original decorations. The result of the restoration is amazing. And now we arrive to the dining room. The dining room and the fireplace is the center of the house. It evokes family, love, also is the meeting point of all family members. The dining room is one of the parts of the house where we find more adorning elements, decorations. There has also been a great restoration work. The dining room is the only place in the house where we can see the original furniture. They were designed by Gaudi, of course, as well. Gaudi integrated into the furniture a set of 34 paintings by a famous local painter called Mr. Torrecasas. That themes are very different: landscapes, seascapes, and portraits. The decorations in the dining room consist of plant motifs. We see representations of ivy climbing, trying to reach to the top. The ornamentations between the beams is amazing. There are tiles. Some of them are done by ceramic, others representing olive trees, leaves, and they are made by paper. Yes, paper. The technique is known as papier-mâché. It consists of gluing several layers of paper and pressing them. The result is something very light and resistant. A friend of Gaudi called Mr. Hermenegildo invented that technique to make tiles. He was very successful. I would like to tell you about the walls. This is Venetian stucco. This is a way to decorate walls and floors also. This is a very complicated technique. Basically, this is made by plaster, lime or marble powder. The result is amazing, and this is like an imitation of marble. The result is a surface delicate and soft. This technique was developed in Venice, in Italy, in the 15th century. The dining room, there is a door that leads to a balcony. The balcony is a place of translation between the garden and the house, a place to sit down, to relax, and to enjoy the sensations given by different elements. Elements that, for example, like the lattices. This is a typical element of the Arab world, gives a play of light and shadows. We can open or close lattices if we want more light or air. Another element is a small fountain where water falls, very soft, and with sunlight a small rainbow appears. So imagine sitting down there, a big garden on your back, with a waterfall, listening the birds, the water from the fountain, the frescoes, and everything. Gaudi's idea was not just design a house. Gaudi wanted to immerse us in a world of sensations. Following our exploration inside the house, we find a smoking room. The decorations is like the halls in the Arab palaces, in the Arab palaces. There was a hookah. A hookah is an object that some people in Arab countries used to smoke. The smoke from the hookah mixed up with the red and blue light from the stained glass windows, creating a very special atmosphere. There was a relaxing and comfortable atmosphere. We can go up stairs to the first floor. It was a private part for the family, bedrooms, bathrooms. The decorations are also spectacular. Ceramics, wrought iron. All rooms have a terrazzo floor. Terrazzo is a building material consisting of cement mixed with small pieces of marble. It is a technique invented in Italy in the 15th century as well. We will see how the color of the terrazzo is different from each room. Gaudi did so in relation to the color of the walls. There are rooms blue, other pink, and blue and ochre rooms. The main room where Mr. Vicens and his wife used to sleep, it was originally separated by a wall. Formerly, some couples slept in separate rooms. In the ceiling, the ceramic panels depict ivy. It is the same climbing plant that the architect used in the dining room on the floor below. Ivy is an ornamental connector between the different levels of the house. It is as the ivy enters the house from the garden and also invades all rooms and the upper part as well. We find representations of other flower. A flower that is painted on the walls, and the name of this flower is blue passion flower. It is also known as the flower of Christ due to the similar shape of the flower with symbols of the passion of Christ, such as the crown thorns. Gaudi loved this flower and used to paint it in other houses that he designed. And now we can go upstairs to the attic. Gaudi designed very often an attic in his houses. It was a light and airy space. It also serves as an air chamber. It was an insulation for the bedrooms on the floor below. The attic space was used by the service personnel to wash and use as storage room. It was an scullery. Today, there is a very interesting museum where you can enjoy some videos and models that help you to understand better that gem that Gaudi designed when he was very young. So Casa Vicens is worth a visit. It's worth a visit. And also to explore the area Gracia district. So this is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and you can subscribe to this podcast if you want. So you will receive all new programs that I do. So I wait for you in 2 weeks more or less in a new chapter. Adios. Goodbye.